Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video. And in Hearthstone history, there have been a lot of busted cards. There have been countless nerfs. I mean, how many times have we talked about nerfs on this channel? Sometimes a card is so problematic, such an issue in a format that it just gets outright banned. It is not able to be played, not able to be used. It is forbidden from that mode. And today we're going to talk about every card that has been banned in Hearthstone history. Before we do that today, let's take a word from our sponsor. I want to thank Opera GX for sponsoring this video and just for providing an amazing web browsing service that I highly recommend. If you guys haven't checked this out yet, you absolutely should. This is just one of the coolest, best browsers I've ever used. Whether it's being able to chat with friends, you can use WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, all these things. Just put it on your side tab and be able to chat with whoever you want at any point, or just being able to customize things. You can see we have a pretty sleek background here. However, you can go crazy and get tons of free wallpapers, even just a nice Austin Evans background. You can add to Opera and boom, I have a cool animated background that I can use for whenever, as well as you can put background music, sound effects. It's just really great. If you're worried about losing your favorite Google Chrome extensions, which by the way, I use a ton of them, you can just simply quickly install them using this free installation app in the Opera add-on store. It's just that easy. And if you're worried about losing your bookmarks or your settings, anything like that, you can quickly, easily import that over to Opera GX. Just head over to the options tab, head over to synchronization, simply click import bookmark settings, import it, and boom, it is done. You have everything. All my stuff has been imported in a heartbeat over to Opera GX, and it's just an amazing service, looks amazing, operates well. And if you want to download it, please use my link in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. And thank you again to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Anyways, today we're going to take a look at cards that were banned in Hearthstone history. We'll go format by format, and we'll talk about some of the odds and ends. Some are kind of bizarre, some are just, well, power level things, and well, let's get into it. So, starting off with standard, what cards have been banned? Well, none really. Typically, you know, cards in standard, it'll get nerfed. However, there is kind of an exception to this rule. Back during the Witchwood, there were two cards introduced into the game, Gen Greymane and Baku the Moon Eater, and both of them enabled different strategies around your hero power. Gen, if you only ran even cost cards in your deck, your hero power would cost 1, and Baku, if you ran all odd cost cards in your deck, your hero power would be upgraded. So if you were a warrior, you'd gain 4 armor. If you were a hunter, you'd deal 3 damage. If you're a paladin, you would get 2 1/1 recruits instead of 1. This led to a power level problem in the game where these decks were just so consistent, so good, getting that guaranteed hero power, led to very linear gameplay, and eventually led to the cards being Hall of Famed a year early, which is kind of the way of banning a card, is the Hall of Fame. But these are the only cards that were ever Hall of Fame, taken out of standard, made ineligible in the format before they were meant to leave, as every standard card is supposed to remain in Hearthstone for at least 2 standard years. So Gen and Baku, although technically not banned, are basically the first ever and only cards to be banned from the standard format. Next, we have the Wild format, and you would think, well, they just sent Gen and Baku to Wild. It's obviously a format where you just dump cards, it doesn't matter. Well, sometimes there's old Wild cards that make new cards that are only eligible in standard way too good. On a couple of occasions, we have seen this lead to cards being outright banned in the Wild format. Most recently, we saw the Warlock quest, the Demon Seed, be banned from the format because there were cards in Wild that just made the strategy much too good, much too quick, and way too effective. The big abusers, the big cards that were available in Wild that weren't available in standard were Crystallizer, which activated effectively a single quest proc on this card where you have to self-damage. You would deal 5 damage to yourself and gain 5 armor, effectively net 0 effect, it doesn't matter. However, you would get your quest done incredibly quickly, as well as Cobalt Librarian, which would not only damage yourself but draw your deck and just make this strategy incredibly consistent. You had cards like Molten Giant, which made the Demon Seed even more insane, as well as cards like Loatheb, where you could drop that with a bunch of 0-mana giants, lock your opponent out, and the card was eventually banned from the format, while at the same time was nerfed for Standard. It was that problematic of a card and still remains a meta-dominant card to this day in Standard. And there's one other card that was banned from the format, similar issue with Stealer of Souls, where the wild cards were just too good for Warlock. Stealer of Souls, basically you draw a card and you can play that card and you damage yourself for that mana cost. But however, within wild, you have Violet Illusionist, you had Mal'Ganis, making yourself immune, and then basically can rip through your deck and play everything. And it was absolutely busted. And back when the card got banned, this was a 4-mana 2/6, and well, it eventually got nerfed in Standard, but before that happened, it was banned in wild, made ineligible, and is still ineligible to play in wild to this day. And both of these cards, when they do rotate to wild, will have to be addressed in some way. The devs said they'll either change the way the card is, or maybe nerfs will have made the card unplayable and safe to begin with. Like a Stealer of Souls might be okay at just 6 mana the way it is. So that's Standard and Wild. What other formats do we have in Hearthstone? Well, we have Arena, and Arena has seen a bunch of cards that were banned from the format. When it started off, Arena, every card was fair game. You could play, you get to draft 30 cards, and every card for your class or in the Standard pool or even in the Wild pool at some point were eligible to be picked. However, certain cards became problematic in the Arena format, and there has been a number of bans where cards are ineligible to be picked. And we're not even going to talk about quests or hero cards, which are just excluded because, well, quests can be pretty hard to complete if you can't build a specific deck around it, and hero cards are just too powerful. However, they originally were included in the Arena pool and were outright banned at some point. The exception being Lord Jaraxxus is currently a hero card you can draft. And well, what cards were banned from the Arena? Well, early on, this card has been since unbanned. We saw Faceless Summoner for Mage. It was a 6-drop that gave you a random 3-drop, was banned. Just Mage was too good, and they thought this card created an unfair power swing. However, you've been able to draft it since then, as well as I believe Snow Chugger back in the day was banned from the format. But cards that are banned now currently and have been banned for a while or recently banned. Recently we have Ramming Mount. It's a 3-mana spell that gave your minion +2/+2 and immune while they attacked. It just basically impossible to answer for most Arena decks because removal is really hard to come by. The Watch Post cards, all the Watch Post cards were excluded because they were just too frustrating to go against. Again, removal is hard to come by in Arena. Your opponent played a Watch Post and you basically would just lose the game, whether it's they're summoning 2/2s because your deck is mostly minions, and well, your cards become too expensive in your hand because of the Far Watch Post. So Watch Posts were banned. Dragon Maw Poacher was banned because, well, there's a lot of dragons in the pool, and all of a sudden this card would just absolutely direct any dragon on the board, making it very frustrating. And these type of hate cards typically are very frustrating in Arena, and this one got banned. We had Mind Control banned because the swing of a Mind Control infuriated certain vegans in the world. I swear this is banned because of crit, but yeah, Mind Control tech made a lot of people go crazy and got outright banned from the format. We saw recently as well Deep Run Engineer ban, not because the card itself, a 2-mana 1/2 is particularly good, but basically because you could discover this Goliath Sneed card that would obliterate the board on curve, and it was just a really frustrating, unfun experience. We've also recently seen Abominable Lieutenant removed from the pool because it's too good. It would just eat a minion, snowball the game, just ridiculous. Same reason we've seen Runaway Blackwing be banned from the Arena. This one was like preemptively banned. They just saw it coming. Vicious Fledgling, an old school ban from Ungoro. It just, if it hit Wind Fury or Stealth, you just won the game. You had to answer this card or you would lose. There's also certain cards that have been banned because they're just really weird build arounds, whether it's a card that can't attack like an Ancient Watcher, or just like a pure Paladin card because the chances of you getting only Paladin cards are so little. There are other exceptions, but those were the cards that were banned because they were just too good or too infuriating in the format. And lastly, we have the Duels format, and the Duels format has also seen a ton of cards being banned because certain hero powers, certain treasures just enable things to be too good. We're not going to go into big depth about it because, well, I'm not super familiar with Duels, but we'll go through a whole list of cards that have been banned from the format. We've seen Ice Lance, Sylvanas, Leroy Jenkins, Ice Block, Doomguard, Divine Favor, Prophet Velen, Auchenai Soul Priest, Mind Blast, Old Murkai, Divine Spirit, Tour Guide, Pinflinger Lightning Bloom, and Nozdormu the Eternal. And before we head off, we'll even mention the competitive Hearthstone scene where people play for world championships. Well, we've seen a couple of bans in those formats as well, mostly just the ones that you make decks random or the hero random. Whizbang the Wonderful, because you can just get a random deck. Your opponent, it's an open deckless format. You can't really do that. Same with Zale. I think it's Zale the Shadow Cloak, something like that. Same issue. Random decks. Plus, you never want to bring these, but they just outright avoid it. And recently saw Maester the Masquerade banned because it would hide the class. However, Thief Rogue has been meta, so now it is allowed in competitive Hearthstone. However, you have to do certain things like communicate what class you're playing, as well as have, I think, a basic card back. There's some rules around it, but yes, even competitive Hearthstone has had cards banned. So there you go. Let me know in the comments below. Did I miss any? Did you guys find this interesting? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.